Hello everyone, welcome to Mana Software Patashala. This is Mandeep. In this Python full course, we will learn Python step by step from day 1 to day 15. By the end of this course, you will be able to write Python programs confidently, solve coding problems, and start your journey in programming. Let's get started. In this entire Python course, we have started with the basics. In day 1 to day 5, where we have learned how to set up Python, work with variables, use operators, write conditions, and create loops. From day 6 to day 10, we have moved into core concepts such as strings, lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries, and also explored how to use the modules and packages. In day 11 to day 13, we have covered advanced topics including functions, file handling, and exception handling. On day 14, we have focused on a OOPS concept and built a mini project to apply all these concepts. Finally, on day 15, we have revised all these concepts and discussed the next steps in the Python journey. You all might be wondering, what does Python actually mean? Let me explain that to you. Python is a high-level interpreted programming language known for its simplicity and readability. Let's break that down for you. High-level means Python allows you to write code using a human-friendly syntax, whereas interpreter means Python code is executed line by line at runtime by an interpreter rather than being compiled into the machine code all at once. That means it's easier to test, debug, and see all the results instantly as you code. There are few reasons to choose Python as your first language. It's a simple and easy to learn, making it a great choice for the beginners. Python can also be used for a variety of purposes, such as building a website, working with the data, or creating an intelligent applications. It also offers many useful tools that make coding much straightforward with a large and supportive community. Plus, Python developers are high in demand, making it a valuable skill for your career. Next, let's see about the Python installation and its setup. In Google, just search for the Python download and click on the first link. After that, for the Windows, just click on the download Python button. After that, file will be downloaded. Click on that and then click on customize installation and make sure all these were selected and then click on next and select install Python 3.13 and make sure the path is correct and then click on install button and select yes. This will take some time. Please wait until then. Once installation is completed, open command prompt and type python -version. So this will show you the version. This is to ensure the installation is done properly. Next, let's download and install Visual Studio Code. Open Google and search for the Visual Studio Code download and then click on first link. After that, for Windows, just click on this button, and for the Linux and for the Mac. In my case, as it's a Windows, I'm clicking on this button. So this will download the VS Code setup file. This may take some time, just wait. Once installation is completed, click on this setup file. So this will populate your pop-up. Then click on accept and click on next. And if you want to create an icon on your desktop, then you can select it accordingly. And then click on next and click on install. So this might take you some time. Once installation is completed, just click on finish. So this will open you the Visual Studio Code. So for now, we have completed with the installation of Python and Visual Studio Code. These are the important links that I will mention in the description for your reference. And these are the VS extensions that you need to download to make the code simpler and debug easier. Let's write our first Python code using Visual Studio Code. Open Visual Studio Code and create a new folder. Then select this checkbox and click on Yes, I trust the authors. So under this, let me create a demo.py. .py is the extension of Python. Let me click on this file and type hello world. So after that, let me right click and I have installed a extension in the Visual Studio, that is AREPL. So with the help of this, if I try to write something in the code file, it will directly populate it in the output window of a AREPL terminal. So it's in a runtime even. If I try, this is a demo file to test the GitHub actions. It will automatically populate here. This is one of the extension which I have already installed in my Visual Studio. So you can also install and explore. First one is variables and naming conventions. Before going to variables, let's talk about naming conventions. In Python, variable names should start with either letter or underscore and can include letters, numbers and underscore as well. No problem. However, they cannot start with number and it shouldn't contain spaces and special characters as well. Python is a case sensitive, so name with a capital N and small n both are different. To keep your code clean and easy to understand, use a meaningful names. That is user underscore name. This is one of the examples. Instead of a short words like a X or a Y, use lowercase letters with underscores and also avoid using Python inbuilt keywords like if, for or print. Let's look into the variables with an example. Within this code, we are creating three variables to store different types of information while making use of naming conventions. The variable name, it holds the text money, which is a string. The variable underscore age stores the number 25, an integer, and underscore at the beginning is allowed in the Python. The user underscore score variable holds the number 99.5, which is a float. All these three variables use clear and simple names following Python naming conventions. Make the code easy to read and understand. Next, let's talk about data types with some examples. In Python, data types define the kind of values a variable can hold. Imagine you are creating a user profile in Python. Each piece of information needs to be stored properly so the computer can understand it clearly. You start by storing the name, that is user underscore name is equal to David. This is a string, perfect for text like names. Next, age, that is user underscore age is equal to 28. This is an integer, great for a whole numbers like someone says. Then maybe you want to record their body temperature. So temperature is equal to 36.6, a float which handles numbers with decimal points. And finally, to check if the user is active or not. For that, is active is equal to true. It's a boolean type used for yes or no or true or false situations. Next, let's talk about input function with an example. The input function in Python is used to take an input from the user during the execution of the program. It passes the program, displays a prompt, and waits for the user to type something. Once the user types and press enter, the input is returned as a string. And here in this case, the value will be returned and stored in the name value. And that we are trying to print it. Let's try to run it and verify the output. Let me click on run and click on start debugging. Once I click on that, it runs the demo.py file and it displays a prompt, what is your name? Let me give an input, that is money. After that, it returns the response, nice to meet you, money. That's about the input function. Next, let's look into typecasting with an example. In Python, the input function always returns the user input as a string, even if the user types numbers. If you want to perform a calculations, you need to convert the string to the appropriate data types. In this example, we use int method to convert the string to the integer. This allows us to perform arithmetic operations like adding 1 to the a's. Without converting the input, trying to do some math, it causes an error. So, typecasting helps us to ensure the data in the right format for the calculations. Let me try to run this and check the output. Let me enter the input. So, this is the output that next year you will be 26 years old. That is about the typecasting. Next, let's talk about basic string formatting with an example. fstrings in Python allows you to embed the variables directly in the strings. In this example, insert the values of name and age into the string, producing an output like my name is Money and I am 25 years old. It's a quick and easy way to format the strings. Let's try to run it and check the output. So this is the output that it is printing. My name is Money and I am 25 years old. This is about string formatting. Arithmetic operators. Let's see this with an example. In simple terms, these operators allow you to perform different mathematical tasks in the programming. Additionally, combines number to find the total, while subtraction finds the differences between the numbers, and multiplication scales one number by the another, and division splits a number into the equal half, often resulting in the decimals. These operators are the building blocks for performing calculations in the code. We have declared two variables a and b holding a values 10 and 3. After doing the mathematical operations with the arithmetic operators, these are the values, that is 30, 7, 30 and 3.3. Next one is comparison operators. Let's check this with an example. Comparison operators are mainly used to compare the values, whether both the values were equal or not, or are greater than or less than. Based upon the comparison, it gonna return the response in a boolean type, that is a true or false. In this case, I have declared two variables, that is a and b, and initialized with the values 5 and 7. If I compare both the values are equal or not, as a and b both hold the different values, that is a 5 and 7, it's not equal. So it returns the boolean value as false. Similarly, in the case of not equal to, as both were not equal, it gonna return true. Similarly, it verifies all the conditions and return the respective response. Next, let's discuss about logical operators with an example. Logical operators use three operands and, or, and not, and gives true only if both the values are true, while or gives true if at least one value is true, whereas not flips the values, it changes true to false and false to true. These are used to make decisions in the programs. Within this example, we have declared two variables x and y and initialize the values as true and false. Upon verifying the condition using the AND operand, it returns the response as false. Using the OR operand, it returns the response as true. For NOT operand, it returns the response as false. Next, let's discuss about assignment operators with an example. Assignment operators are mostly about assigning values, but they can also do a bit of math while doing it. Within this example, I have declared the x and initialized the value as 10. Using the assignment operator, that is the plus equal to, I have incremented the x by 5. If I print the x value, the value would be 15. Similarly, the assignment operator multiplication with 2, the resultant would be 30. Let's look into if condition with an example. Let's say you are coding a smart system in a car. If the traffic lights turn green, boom, your system tells the driver it's time to move. Simple, just like a Python if statement. Within this example, I have declared a variable signal underscore color and assigned the value as green. So we would be verifying the condition. If the signal underscore color is green, then try to print it out the statement, go the road is clear. So this is the output after evaluating the if condition. Next, let's look into the if condition with an example. This time, if the signal is not green, it checks if the light is yellow. If it is, it wants the driver to prepare for a stop. The if allows us to handle multiple conditions after the initial if. Within this example, we have declared signal underscore color and initialize the value to yellow. First, we will evaluate whether the signal underscore color is green or not using if condition. As it is false, it gonna execute if condition. And within this, as the color is yellow, it gonna print caution prepare to stop. This is the output using the if condition. Next, let's discuss about else condition with an example. If the signal is neither green nor yellow, the else block catches everything else. In this case, red or unknown signal gives the safest advice to stop. Within this example, signal underscore color is declared and initialized with the red. With the first condition, as the color is green, it doesn't satisfy. So it moves to the if condition. As here it is yellow, it doesn't satisfy, and finally it goes to the else block. So it prints the stop, it's not safe to move. This is the output for the else condition. A loop is like a game that keeps going until you say stop. We will learn how to use it to repeat tasks again and again until a certain condition is met, like a robot that keeps walking until it sees a wall. Let's see this with an example. Within this example, we have declared a variable bottle and initialized the value as 1. While loop gonna execute until it satisfies the condition. Here we have a condition that bottle value should be less than or equal to 5. So until it satisfies, it will print filling bottles 1, 2, 3 until 6, incrementing by 1. This is the output for the while loop. Next one, for loop with a range. This loop is perfect when you know how many times you want to repeat some things with range. It's like counting steps, going from 1 to 10 and do this each time. This is super useful and super cool. Let's see this with an example. Let's take a real-time example. Consider you are giving a chocolate to 5 kids standing in a line. So here also for loop does the same. Until the range from 1 to 6, it gonna print giving chocolates to kid 1, 2 until 5. This is the output for the for loop. Next, loops control. These are the tools that let you control your loops like a boss. Break. Stop the loop right now. The rest continue. Skip this turn and move on. Pause. Do nothing for now and just keep going. You will see how these can make your code smarter and faster. Let's see this with an example. First one is a break. It's like an emergency button. Let's take a real-time example. Consider we are distributing chocolates to 5 kids. If third kid says no, we need to stop distributing. This is the loop where the condition of kid equal to 3. So we are breaking this loop. So this is the output for this loop when we use break. Next, let's discuss about continue. For this, consider the same example that we are distributing the chocolates to the 5 kids, but third kid is absent. In that case, we need to skip him and continue to give the rest of the people. This is the loop where the condition of the kid equal to 3, so we are skipping using the continue statement. So this is the output for the loop when we use continue. Next and last one is pass. Let's take a real-time example. Consider we are distributing chocolates to 5 kids. If third kid, we don't want to do anything, just ignore and move on. This is the loop where the condition of kid equal to 3. So this is the output for the loop when we use pass. Next, let's try to build a simple pattern program with an example. Let's understand how this simple and powerful pattern works. We are creating a right angle triangle using the for loop. So for that we are setting a row is equal to 5, which means we want 5 lines in our triangle. The loop runs from 1 to 5. In each iteration we use an expression star multiplied by I. This is a Python cool trick. When you multiply a string by a number, it repeats the string. So in the first loop we print star, then star star, and then star star star, and so on, forming a growing staircase of stars. String slicing with an example. Imagine your friend sends you a long message. Hey, let's meet at 5 p.m. in the cave. In this example, we have a message that says, hey, let's meet at 5 p.m. in the cave. This is a string and we want to pick out just the part that says 5 p.m. To do that, we use slicing, which means taking a small part of the string using its position numbers. In Python, every letter, space, or a symbol is a string, has a position number starting from 0. So when we write message square bracket 18 colon 23, we are asking Python to give us the characters starting from 18 up to 23. That part of the message is 5 p.m. So when we print the time, it shows 5 p.m. as an output. This is how slicing helps us get only the part we want from a bigger string. Next, let's discuss about string methods with an example. Let's say you are collecting email IDs from the users, but some of them type with an extra spaces or in an uppercase. In this example, we have an email stored in a variable called email, which has a value hello user @example.com. It has space at the beginning and end of the string with some capital letters. When working with the emails, it's good idea to clean it up before using it. For that, we have two string methods. One is dot strip and dot lower method. Dot strip method, It helps us to remove any extra spaces at the start and end of the string. Whereas dot lower method, this changes all the letters to the lowercase because email addresses are usually case insensitive. When we try to use email.strip dot lower method, which first removes all the spaces and then converts everything to the lowercase. The final result is stored in the variable clean underscore email. When we try to print it out, it gives the output like hello user at the rate example.com, removing all the spaces at start and end of the string and converts everything to the lowercase. Next, let's discuss about in and not in operators with an example. Consider you have a list of blocked words in a chat application. If a message has one, you can block it. Within this example, we have declared a variable message having a value. This is a spam message. Using the in operator, we gonna verify whether spam keyword is part of the message or not. If it is a part of, it gonna print block message as an output. Else, it gonna print message sent. Since spam keyword is part of the message, we are printing block message as an end result. So this is the output for this example. Consider a boyfriend took his girlfriend out for a dinner. He wanted to make her happy by picking a food that she might enjoy. He thought about her favorite food like pizza, pasta, and burger. Then he asked, should we try noodles today? Before suggesting it, he is verifying whether the noodles were already part of her favorite list or not. In Python, in order to do that, not in operator is used. If noodles are not part of our list, then he suggests let's try noodles this time. If it's already part of her list, then he suggests you already like noodles. Let's have it again. This is how not in helps to check if something is missing from our list. As noodles is not part of our favorite list, we are trying to return shall we try noodles this time as an output for this example. Based on today's topics, let's work on an example that is reverse string. Let's see this with an example. Within this example, we have declared a variable text and initialized the value hello. In order to do a string reverse, we were using this line. But let's try to break it out very clearly so even a beginner can understand what exactly each part means. We are using string slicing in Python, which follows this format that is text square bracket of start, stop, and step. Let's see what happens with each part. First one is a start. This is where the slice will begin. In text double colon minus 1, we didn't write any value before the first colon. So Python starts from the end of the string by default when step is negative. Next one is stop. This tells Python where to stop the slicing. Again we left it empty. When step is negative, this means Python will stop when it reaches to the beginning of the string. Next, step. This decides how to move through the string. A step of 1 means move forward. A step of minus means move backward, one character at a time. So minus 1 tells Python to go from end to the start. So putting all together, start from the end, stop when you reach the beginning, go back one step at a time because of minus 1. Creating an accessing list. Let's see this with an example. Imagine you are at the supermarket with shopping basket. As you pick items, you are placing them into your basket in order. Here, grocery underscore basket is your Python list. Each item you add to your basket is an element in that list. In Python, list index starts from 0. Apples is the first item, it's in the 0th index. Whereas milk is the second element, it's in the first index. And the rest of the elements, it continues with the rest of the indexes. Accessing items in your basket, let's say you want to access the first item in your basket. For doing that, we need to type print grocery underscore basket, that's a list, and within the square bracket we need to type square bracket of 0. So this will return the first item which is in the 0th index. Similarly, in order to return the last item within a basket, for doing that I need to enter print grocery underscore basket within the square bracket I should type minus 1. In order to know more about the minus 1, you can refer to my previous video. So this will return the last item of a list, that is X. Next, let's discuss about list methods with an example. Let me tell you a story about Rahul and his Python powered to-do list. Rahul daily routine would be like he wakes up early in the morning and decide to plan his day using Python. He starts with a basic list of tasks. The items in the to-do list are the items that he need to do for today. Suddenly he remembers that he need to have a breakfast, so he adds at the end of the list. In order to do that, he need to use append method. To underscore do dot append eat breakfast. So this line it adds the eat breakfast item to the to-do list. For suppose if Rahul thinks I want to meditate right after waking up, then in such case we need to add meditate within the first index after wake up. In order to do that, we need to use to underscore do dot insert, and first parameter should be the first index, and second parameter would be the value that we want to insert with the first index. So this line will add meditate in the first index after the wake up in the to-do list. So within the midday again, Rahul is feeling lazy. So he decides not to do the exercise for today. So in order to remove exercise from the list, we need to use remove method. To underscore to dot remove of exercise. This line will remove the exercise from the to-do list. Finally, by the end of the day, after eating, he marks breakfast as done. But he also wants to see what he has just finished. As breakfast is done, we need to remove it from the to-do list. And in the same way, we need to return back the same to show Rahul. That we can do it by using the pop method. So, to underscore to dot pop. This line will remove the breakfast item from the to-do list. And we can store it in the finished variable to display it. As he want to see what he has just finished, we can print it out using the finished variable. By this way, Rahul can get to know the item that he has just finished. So, the moral of the story is, even in the daily life, you can use list methods without realizing it. Next, let's discuss about tuples and immutability with an example. At passport office, Ravi is asked to submit his personal details. Here we have stored his details in a tuple, not in a list, because these values should never change once he is submitted. Why? Because his name, his country, and his date of birth, these values are fixed. It will never change. In order to return the value from the tuple, we can use indexing concept. That is, passport underscore info square bracket of 0, it will return Ravi, and square bracket of 1 will return the value India, and 2 will return the date of birth. A tuple is like a sealed envelope. Once you write the information and seal it, you can't edit it. It's like an immutable, which means you cannot change, add, or remove items once the tuple is created. When we are trying to modify the tuples, it will give us an error because tuples are read-only containers. They are used when you want to protect data from being modified accidentally. So, immutability means the data cannot be changed once created, and also it helps keep the data safe and consistent with the help of tuples. Next, let's discuss about list comprehension with an example. Meet Riya, a school teacher. She just finished checking her students' test papers and has list of scores. Now, Riya wants to give a grace marks. Every student who scored below 50 will get plus 5 extra marks. So, she could use this loop. But Riya is smart. She uses list comprehension, a quick way to create lists with a logic in a single line. Let's break it down. For score in scores, it loops through each score, and based on the condition, that is, if score is less than 50, we need to add plus 5 grace marks, else we need to return the score. The result would be a new list with the updated scores. So now students with less than 50 have improved their marks and Riya saved her time. Imagine Ravi owns a grocery store and wants to digitalize the way he keeps tracks of each item using Python. He uses dictionaries and sets to manage the products, prices, and its categories. First, let's see about creating dictionaries with an example. Dictionary. It is used to store data as a key value pairs. Each key must be unique and the value can be of any data type. This is the syntax for that. Ravi wants to keep track of items and their prices in his store. For that, he is using dictionary, where store underscore items is the name of the dictionary variable. Inside the curly brackets, milk, bread, butter, and jam. These are the keys. and 25, 20, 40 and 35. These are the values. This way, Ravi can quickly find the item and their prices in his store using its name. Next, let's discuss about accessing and modifying the values in the dictionary. One fine day morning, Ravi is checking his inventory and notices that the price of the butter has increased from 40 to 45. As he is using the store underscore item as a dictionary to track the prices, he needs to update the value of the key butter. Ravi is saying that he wants to find the item called butter and update its value to 45. So the butter would be the key and 45 would be the value. Using this line, that is store underscore items, within the square brackets we need to mention the key, that is butter, and equal to 45. So using this line we can update the value butter to 45. After updating the dictionary, this would be the result. Next, let's discuss about dictionary methods with an example. In Python, dictionary comes with built-in methods and few special functions to manage data. Let's see how Ravi uses them to manage his store in a better way. Ravi is improving his store inventory system. For that, he wants to see all the item names, check the prices of items, and many more. Dot keys is one of the method in the dictionary. With the help of this method, we can retrieve all the keys within the dictionary. So by using store underscore items dot keys method, we can get all the keys in the item, that is milk, bread, butter and jam. Dot values is one of the method within the dictionary which helps to retrieve all the values in the dictionary. Within this case 25, 20, 40 and 35. These are the values which would be retrieved by using store underscore item dot values. This is the output for that. Dot items. It is one of the method in the dictionary which helps to retrieve all the item names and their values. Using this line, we can get all the item names and values, that is milk, 25, bread, 20 and so on. Next, in order to add a new item to the dictionary, we need to use store underscore item. Within the square bracket, we need to mention the key, that is juice in this case, equal to 30 as a value. So this line will add juice and 30 as a key value within the existing dictionary. In order to remove the item from the dictionary, we need to use dot pop method. So store underscore item dot pop of jam will remove the item jam from the dictionary. After the removal, this is the result. Next, let's discuss about sets and its operations with an example. A set is a collection in the Python that stores only the unique values and it doesn't maintain any order. It is great for doing the math-like operations such as intersection, difference, and union. Ravi is running his store smartly. He now keeps track of available items and requested items. But he has three questions. First one is which items are both available and requested, and second one which items are requested but not available, and third one what is the total list of all unique products. First question is which items are both available and requested. For that we need to use and, because and finds common products between both the sets. If we see the available items that Ravi has, milk, bread, butter and juice, and the customer requested juice, jam and honey. So Ravi has only the item, that is juice. Using this line, we can get the available item that customer requested is juice. Second question is which items are available but not requested. For that we need to use minus. Minus subtracts what's available from the requested. As jam and honey are the missing products but customer wants them. So this line will return honey and jam as an output. Third question is which items are either available or requested. For that we need to use pipe because pipe combines both the sets. By using this line, it will return all the available and requested products, that is butter, bread, milk, jam, juice and honey. Consider you are building a basic system for food delivery service like Swiggy, Zomato using Python. Let's walk through different functions related concepts in this story. First one, defining function. A function is a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. This is the syntax for the function. It starts with def keyword followed by function name and the entire code block it comes inside the function. Let's see this with an example. Consider you want to greet customers when they open your food delivery application. This is the sample function for that. When we execute this function, it will return welcome to food delivery app. Def. It tells Python you are defining a function. Greet underscore customer. This is the name of the function. Round brackets. It indicates there are no inputs set. Inside the function, it just prints a message, welcome to food delivery app. On execution of this function, it prints this response. Next, Let's see function parameters and return values with an example. Let's consider a scenario. Let's say the user types their name. We want to greet them personally. For that scenario, I have created a function. It takes name as an input. So this function returns hello followed by the customer name. Welcome to the food delivery application. So for this function, I am passing Arjun as a parameter. So this function returns hello Arjun, welcome to food delivery app as a response. Next, let's see default arguments and keyword arguments with an example. Most of the customers choose veg by default while they were ordering, but some may prefer non-veg. For that convenience, I have created a function called place underscore order. For that, it has two params. One is a default param where food underscore type takes veg as a default value. But if we want to override it, we can pass the respective value. Within this scenario, we were not passing any value to the food underscore type. So the response would be order placed for the burger and type would be veg. Within the second scenario, we were ordering chicken biryani, which is of non-veg type. So the response would be order placed for chicken biryani of type non-veg. Next one is a keyword arguments. Consider a scenario you want to allow users to specify both item and food type clearly. For that convenience, I have created a function called place underscore order. It has two parameters with no value by default. If we execute this function, it will print order placed for respective item and food type as a response. Within this scenario, we were calling place underscore order function with item as paneer roll and food underscore type as vegetarian. So this will return a response like order placed for paneer roll and type is of veg. Within the next scenario, for the place underscore order, we were passing the values food underscore type as non-veg and item as mutton curry. So this will return order placed for the mutton curry of type non-veg. Key augment has two important advantages. One is while using key augments, order doesn't matter, and the other one is it is very useful when functions has too many parameters. Next, let's discuss about star args and star star KW args with an example. First one is a star args. Consider a scenario. A customer want to order multiple items. So we need to provide such a flexibility within our function. Star items. It gathers all the positional inputs into a tuple. Then we can loop through all the items and manage those. For order underscore items function, we were passing pizza, burger and fries as an input. After looping through all the items, this is the output that we get as a response. Next one is star star KWOX. Consider a scenario. User is ordering his food. During the checkout time, he need to provide few delivery instructions in order to manage order in a better way. To provide such a flexibility, we have designed a function called delivery underscore details which accepts star star details as an input. For delivery underscore details function, we need to pass few inputs like name as Arjun, address as Hyderabad and landmark as near park. So star star details function, it collects keyword arguments into dictionary. Later we will loop through all the items and return the response like this. This is the output for that. So we can use star args when you want to pass any number of values without knowing how many inputs ahead of time. Whereas we can use star star KWOX when you want to pass any number of named values. Imagine you have opened a restaurant. Every time a customer walks in, you do the same things like greeting the customer, showing him the menu, take the order, cook, serve, and print the bill. Now imagine writing all these code blocks every single time for every customer. That would be exhausting, right? That's where module comes in. Just like how restaurants reuse their menu and kitchen setup for every customer, Python lets you reuse the code by keeping it in a separate files called as modules. You just need to import them and need to use it. First one, importing standard modules like math, random and datetime. Let's see this with an example. Python gives you a toolbox filled with the powerful tools called as modules. You just need to import and use those. For example, consider you want to perform few mathematical operations like square root of a number or a factorial of a number. In order to implement the whole logic, it consumes a lot of time. But there is a module called as a math in Python which will help you out in solving all these kind of a mathematical operations. In order to consume the math module, first you need to import the math module. Since square root and factorial are part of the math module, we access them using the math.function function name. So math.square root of 49 gives the resultant as 7 and math.factorial of 5 gives the resultant as 120. These are the outputs after performing the mathematical operations like square root and factorial using math module. Next, creating your own module. Let's see this with an example. For working on creating your own module concept, first we need to create a file called mytools.py. Inside this, let's create two functions. One function, it returns greeting as an output, whereas the other function, it returns square root of a number. After creating those two functions in mytools.py file, our next task is to consume those modules. In order to do that, we need to write import mytools. So this is the way to import the module. Next, in order to consume that, we need to type print module name dot function name. In our case, it is greet. Let's pass the parameter as money to it. So after passing money as a parameter to the greet function, it returns hello money, welcome back as a response. Next, let's try to consume our second function, that is square. For that, we need to type my tools, that is a module name dot function name, that is square. After passing input as 5 to the square function, it returns 25 as a response. These are the responses that it returns from the greet and square functions using my tools module. Next one is using pip and installing external packages. Let's see this with an example. Sometimes the built-in Python toolbox isn't enough for more advanced tasks like working with Excel sheets, scraping websites, sending emails, or building applications. This is where external packages comes in. With millions of libraries available, Python allows you to install exactly what you need using pip. This enables you to expand functionality effortlessly. Inside the Visual Studio Code, press Ctrl negation. This is a shortcut in order to open the terminal. This helps you to install all the required packages. First, let's type pip space install space request. This command helps you to install the request library. The request library in Python is a powerful tool for making HTTP requests. It allows you to interact with web servers, send data, and receive responses. Let's install this library. After executing this command, you can see a message successfully installed request library. Next, let's test request library. In order to do that, first we need to import the request module. Import request. This line helps you to import the request module. Using this request module, let's try to fetch the information from a URL and print the status code. So, request is a module, .get is a function. We were passing URL as a parameter. After that, we are getting 200 as a status code. That means we were able to connect to the URL and fetch the response. Let's try to print the response as well. Print response for 6. So this is the content that we are able to fetch from the URL. Let's discuss about reading and writing text files with an example. Imagine you are Suresh, a busy software engineer. You want to maintain your daily to-do tasks in a text file instead of a sticky notes. First, let's create a text file with a file name to.txt. Initially, the file is empty, so we need to use Python to write content to our text file. So let's see how we can do that. This is the boilerplate code in order to write content to the text file. Let's see each method and each line how it works. In order to write content to the text file, first task is that we need to open the text file. In order to do that, there is an inbuilt method called as a open, which helps us to write content to the text file. But it requires two parameters as an input. First one is a text file name, and the second one is the mode operation that we want to perform on the text file. As in our case, we want to do a write to the text file, we need to use W. Second, once the file is opened, we can perform any kind of a write operation to the text file. So in order to perform the write operation to the text file, we use file.write, and this is a message or a string that we want to add to the text file. Later, we were adding few more strings. After performing the write
operation to the text file, we need to use dot close method. This closes the file and saves the content. After execution of this piece of logic, we can notice that the content has been returned to the text file. Similar to writing, we can also perform reading operation on a text file. Let's see what are the code changes that we want to make in order to perform reading operation. The first difference is we have passed w as a second parameter to the open method during write operation. As we need to perform read operation, we need to replace that with r. Second difference is in order to write content to a text file, we have used dot write function. Now as we need to perform read operation on a text file, we need to replace that with dot read function. So this dot read function helps to read entire content from a text file. This content would be stored in a content variable. Later, after printing that, we can see the output in the output window. After performing reading operation, we need to use dot close function at the last of the logic. This helps to close the instance of a text file. This need to be used while we were performing any kind of a file operation on a text file. Next, let's discuss about different file mode operations with an example. There are many file mode operations that it exists in Python. Let's concentrate on few of those in this session. First one is R. R is for file reading operation. It opens an existing file and let you read its content, but you can't write or change anything in it. Next one, W. W is for writing to a file. It creates a new file or overwrites the existing one completely. So any old content will be lost entirely. Next, A. A is for appending data to the end of the file. It doesn't delete existing content, and if the file doesn't exist, it creates a new one. Next, R plus. R plus let you read and write to the same file without deleting anything, but the file must already exist. Next, W plus. W plus allows both reading and writing, but it first clears the file before writing new content. Next, A plus. A plus is used to read and append at the same time. It adds a new content to the end of the file without removing anything and creates a file if it doesn't exist already. We have already seen file read and write operation. Now let's concentrate on append operation. For that we need to use character A. So this piece of logic, after executing, it adds check emails content at the end of the file. Let's see by executing this. So if you notice, check emails content has been added at the end of the file. So that is about append file mode operation. Next one is R plus. The R plus mode allows both reading and writing without erasing the existing content. It first reads the entire content, then this seek of zero method, it moves the pointer back to the beginning and preprints a new line. That is, revised meeting time would be added at the starting of the todo.txt file. If I try to execute it, you can notice that revised meeting time has been added at the starting of the todo.txt file. Next one is a double plus mode. So this double plus mode which allows both writing and reading, but it first clears the existing content, then adds the new task to the input file. After writing, the file pointer is at the end of the file. So seek of 0 will move it back to the beginning. Finally, file.read will help to read and print the entire content present in the file. Let's try to execute this logic and see the output. So after executing this piece of logic, you can notice that the entire content which within the existing file has been cleared out and new task has been added in the todo.txt file. Next one is A plus. A plus allows you to both read from the file and append new content to the existing file. But if the file doesn't exist, it creates a new one. By default, the pointer is positioned at the end. So if you want to read the file from the existing content before appending it, you need to use seek of 0 to move the pointer to the beginning of the file. Any new data written using write will always be added at the end without affecting the existing content. So if you execute this file.write of a new task added, this new task added would be added at the end of the file. Let's try to execute and see how it's been behaving. So after executing this piece of logic, we can notice that new task added has been added at the end of the todo.txt file. Next, let's discuss about using with context. Let's see this with an example. The with statement in Python is used for the resource management, especially when you are working with the files. So it automatically opens and closes the file for you, even if error occurs inside the block. So without with, you would have to call file.close logic, and if your program crashes before that, the file stays open, which can cause problems. Within this line, todo.txt file opens in a read mode and assigns the file object to a file. So in case if there is any error occurs within these lines, the file closes automatically. That's the advantage of the with context. Next, let's look into a practical example of to-do list manager. Let's see this with an example. This is a mini to-do list program that allows a user to do just one of the two things, that is, view existing tasks and add a new task. Once user performs an action, the program ends with no loops. This line, it asks the user what they want to do. For suppose if a user press 1, it shows all the existing tasks. In case if a user press 2, it allows a user to add a new task. If the user chooses 1, then the program tries to open todo.txt in a read mode. Then it reads out each line and removes the extra new line characters using dot strip method. Later, it prints the task neatly with hyphen in front. For example, if the file doesn't exist, then it shows a friendly message instead of crashing the program. If the user chooses to, the program asks for a new task. Then open sudo.txt in a append mode, which adds the task to the end of the file without deleting the old ones. Later, it writes a task and adds a new line to keep each task on new line. Finally, it confirms the task was added. For suppose if the user enters anything other than 1 or 2, then this message shows up to guide them. Let's try to execute this program and understand in much better way. After executing this program, it asks for few options to provide. If we choose option 1, then it displays all the existing tasks. If we provide option 2, it allows us to add a new task. Let's first try to view if there is any task. So we can see that there are no tasks in exist. So let's try to add a new task. So a new task has been added successfully. Let's try to view it whether it's been added or not. So we can able to see that web app development task has been added successfully. This is the way to manage to-do list. Let's discuss about try, accept and finally block with an example. Imagine you are building an ATM software. A customer tries to withdraw money, but sometimes they might enter wrong input. Regardless of what happens, the machine must always display "Thank you for using ATM." This program simulates a simple ATM withdrawal system. It starts by asking the user to enter the amount they want to withdraw. This input function, it takes the response as a string and it converts that to a number. If the user enters something invalid value like a letters or a symbols instead of a number, Python will raise a value error. That's where except blocks comes in. It catches the error and shows a friendly message like invalid input, please enter a number. Finally, whether the user input was correct or wrong, the finally block gonna execute and prints thank you for using the ATM. In short, this code shows how to keep your program running smoothly even when user makes mistakes. Let's try to execute this program in order to understand in much better way. After executing, it gonna ask for the user input. Let's enter an invalid value. So if we enter an invalid value, it gonna display invalid input. Please enter a number along with thank you for using the ATM. Now let's provide a valid input. So after providing a valid input of 500, it gonna display withdrawal of 500 is successful along with thank you for using the ATM. Next, let's look into handling multiple exceptions with an example. Consider a user is filling an online age form. If they enter something that's not a number or a negative age, your program should handle both the cases. This code asks the user to enter their age. It tries to convert the input into a number using int function. If the number is successfully entered but the value is less than 0, then this program uses raise manually and throws a value error with a message age can't be negative. That means even though the input is a number, it still checks if the value makes sense. There is also a second exception block to catch any other unexpected errors, just in case. If everything goes well, it simply prints the user's age. Let's try to run this example in order to understand in much better way. After executing this program, it asks for an input. Let's enter a negative value. In case of a negative value, it's gonna display value error that age can't be negative. Let's enter a invalid input. In case of an invalid input, it gonna throw value error with invalid literal for a int method. Let's enter a valid input. So in case of an valid input, it gonna print a message your age is 34. Next, let's look into custom error messages with an example. Consider you are creating a sign up page. The password should be at least 6 characters. If not, you want to raise a custom error message. This code asks the user to enter a password. If the password is less than 6 characters, it gonna raise a value error. The message password is too short, must be at least 6 characters. Next, the except block. It catches the error and shows the message to the user if the password is long or invalid. In case if the password is correct, then it gonna print password is accepted. Let's try to execute this program in order to understand in much better way. After executing this program, it gonna ask for the password as an input. Let's try to enter a password with less than 6 characters. So if it's a less than 6 characters, it gonna throw an error message with that password is too short, must be at least 6 characters. Next, if we enter a correct password of at least 6 characters, then it gonna accept. Next, let's look into raise keyword with an example. Consider a scenario. In a loan application system, a user must be 21 years or older. If not, raise a custom error message. This code checks if the person is eligible for loan or not. It first asks for the user's age as an input and then it converts that to an integer. Later, if age is less than 21, we gonna raise a custom exception with a message not eligible for a loan must be at least 21 years old. If age is 21 or above, it prints eligible for a loan application. Let's try to execute this program in order to understand in much better way. After executing this program, it gonna ask age as an input. Let's try to provide less than 21. So if it is less than 21, then it gonna throw an error message that not eligible for a loan must be at least 21 years old. Let's enter some other number greater than 21. So if it is greater than 21, it gonna print eligible for loan application. Let's discuss about what is OOPS concept. Imagine you are running a car showroom. Every car in your showroom has a feature like a color, brand and engine type along with the functions like start, stop and apply brake. Now, instead of writing a separate details for each and every car, wouldn't it be a better to create a blueprint once and reuse it to create many other cars? That blueprint is called as a class and each car built from it is called as an object. This is exactly how OOPS concept works in Python. Next, let's discuss about classes and objects. Think of a class as a blueprint or a design. Let's say you want to make cars, but you don't want to build each car from a scratch every time. Instead, you create one class and use it to make many other cars like an object. For example, imagine you own a car company. Every car has a brand, color, and an ability to start. Instead of repeating code for each car, we will write one template using a class and create many other objects like a car object for each brand. In order to create a class, we need to use class keyword along with a class name. So car is a class that we are creating. Init is a constructor. It helps us give values like a brand and color when we create a car object. Self.brand and self.color. It stores the unique details for each car object. Start is a function or a behavior that every car can do. Car1 and Car2 are the objects that we are creating on top of a car class. So for that we are passing brand as well as a color for each brand. Car1.start. We are telling car1 to start and it prints the brand and color that we pass in the car1 object. Similarly with car2 as well. So after executing this entire logic, it prints out Honda car in red color is starting and Honda car in blue color is starting as an output. Next, let's discuss about init constructor. When you create a student, you want to immediately assign their name and roll number. Python has a special function called init that automatically runs when you create a new object. Def init is a constructor that runs when an object is created. Self.name and self.roll number are useful for assigning the values to the object variables. This line, it is helpful for passing the values to the init constructor. Next, s1.name and s1.roll number are useful for accessing the object's name and roll number. After executing this piece of logic, the output would be money and 123. Next, let's discuss about instance and class variables with an example. Let me tell you a story. All students belong to the same school, but each has a different name and roll number. So, school name would be the class variable and name and roll number would be the instance variable. Let me explain you a bit clear. School is equal to ABC High School is a class variable. It is shared by all the students. Self.name and self.roll number is specific to each student. So here we have created two student objects, one with the params money and 123 and another with the params 90 and 456. So if we print the values s1.name and s1.school, it gives output money ABC High School and s2.name and s2.school gives an output as Nani ABC High School. So you can notice that ABC High School is a class variable that is shared for both the student objects. But name and roll number are instance variables, so it is specific to each student. Next, let's look into a simple mini project using OOPS concepts based on the topics that we have covered in this session. Let's see this with an example. Now just consider you are building an application for a company to store employee information. Each employee has a name, age and salary and they all work for a same company. Let's look into the logic for this scenario in order to understand in much better way. In this example, we are learning how to use classes and objects in Python to represent real world things like an employee in a company. We first create a class called as an employee, which is like a template for storing employee details inside a class. Company is equal to ABC Private Limited is a class variable, meaning it is shared by all the employees. Every employee belongs to this company. Init method is a constructor. It runs automatically when we create a new employee. That means it takes the name, age and salary of an employee and stores them in a variable specific to that object using self. The display underscore info method, it prints the details of an employee including the shared company name and the personal information. Next, then we create two employees, employee 1 and employee 2 with a different names, ages and salaries. When we call a display underscore info on each object, it shows their individual details along with the common company name. After executing this piece of logic, it gives an output like this with a company name, age and salary of two employees. Today we are going to work on a contact book application using Python. It helps you to store and manage contact details like a name, phone number and email addresses. You can do five main things with it. You can add contact, view all contacts, search by a contact, update and delete a contact. All your contacts would be saved in a file so they won't be lost when you close the program. This app is built using classes and functions, which makes the code neat and easy to understand. It also uses file handling to save and load the data, and this project brings together everything you have learned in Python so far and shows how to use it in a real world way. For our contact book application, I have created two files. First one is a demo.py file and the second one is a contact.json. Within the contact.json, I have added few contact details which we would be using for our application. Let's walk through the demo.py file in order to understand in much better way.
Within the demo.py file, first I have imported two modules. One is a JSON and another is a OS. The OS module in Python helps you to interact with the operating system, whereas the JSON module helps you to perform different read and write operation on the JSON files. Next, I have created a contact class. This is a constructor. It gets called whenever a new contact is created and it stores name, phone and email address as a part of a contact object. To underscore tick. This is a method. It converts object into a dictionary. Next, we have created a one more class called as a contact book and this is a constructor within it. First, we initialize the empty contact list and within this line we store the file name within the file name variable. This line is for loading all the contacts from the contact.json. Let's go to the implementation and understand in much better way. Within the load underscore contacts method, first we check if the file actually exists in your folder or not. This prevents errors that would happen if you try to read a file which doesn't exist. Next, this line it helps to open the file in a read mode and with keyboard is used to automatically close the file after reading it. Within this line, we reads the entire file content and converts the JSON data into a Python list of dictionary. Next, we loop through each contact in the list and adds each contact object to the self.contacts in the application. So we can use it later for performing different operations like search, update and delete. Within the contact book class, there are few other methods in order to perform different operations. First one is a add underscore contact. This method it helps to add a new contact object to the contact list and we use append method to do it. It will help you to add the contact at the end of the list. Next, view underscore contact. This method it shows up all the contacts stored in our list. If the list is empty, it displays no contacts found. Otherwise, it prints all the contact details one by one using a for loop. Next, search underscore contact. This method it searches for a contact by the name and loops through all the contacts and checks if the contact matches with the name or not. And if it founds, it prints all the details. Otherwise, it prints no contact found with that name. Next, delete underscore contact. This method deletes a contact by the name and it loops through all the contacts and verify whether it matches or not. If it matches, then it using a remove method, it removes the contact and shows a success message like contact name deleted. If the searched contact is not found, then it prints out contact not found. Next, update underscore contact. This method updates a contact phone number and email. It searches by the name and asks the user to input the new values for a phone and email. Then it replaces the old values with the new ones and confirms the update to the user. If the searched contact not found, then it prints out contact not found. Next, last one is a save underscore contacts method. This method it saves all the contacts into a JSON file. It first converts each contact into a dictionary using to underscore dict method. Then it writes them to a file using json.dump. For saving the data successfully, it returns a success message like contact saved successfully. If there is any error occurred in between, then it returns error saving contacts with an error message. Apart from all these methods, we have two more methods. One is for displaying all the menu and second one is a main method. Within the main method, we gonna take the user choice as per the menu and call the respective method. Let's try to run this application and see the output. After running the application, first it loads all the contacts, then it prints out the menu. We can choose either of the option in order to perform the respective operation. First, let's try to view all the existing contacts which are already been present in the contacts.json file. In order to do that, we need to provide option 2. So, after entering our option 2, we can notice that all the contacts which are already been present in the contact.json has been printed over here. Next, let's try to add a new contact in order to perform add operation. So after entering a value 1, it asks for a name. Next, phone number. Next, email ID. So we can notice that the contact has been added successfully. Next, let's try to view all the contacts. We can notice that money contact has been added to the contact list. Next, let's search the contact. So while searching the contact, the name should be exactly match. That is case sensitive. So for example, if you provide a name as an Anu, it throws an error that no contact has been found with the name Anu. So we need to provide the exact name Anu Sharma while searching it. So we can notice that Anu Sharma contact has been found and return the contact details. Next, let's try to update the contact. In order to do that as well, we need to provide the exact name. Next, let me give a phone number as all nines in this case. Next, anu at gmail.com as an email ID. These were our different details. I'm doing it. So after that, we can see contact has been updated. Let me try to view all the contacts now. So we can see Anu's contact has been updated successfully for the both phone number and email address. Let me try to delete a contact. For that, let me type Vikram Singh. So we can see Vikram Singh contact has been deleted successfully. Next, let's try the last option, that is a save and exit. So after doing that, it saves all the contacts to the contacts.json file and exit from the application with a successful message. Next, let's check contact.json file in order to verify whether the contacts has been saved successfully or not. We can notice Anu's phone number and email has been updated successfully and new contact money also been added and Vikram Singh's contact also been deleted successfully from the contact.json file. Go through all the key concepts once again with a small example to understand in much better way that will help you to refresh your memory before proceeding further. First one is a variables, data types and operators. Imagine you are in a restaurant. The waiter notes your table number, writes down the items and its prices. Now, when you order two pizzas, the waiter multiplies the price with 2 using an operator and calculates a total bill. This is exactly how programming works. Variable stores the details, data types define the kind of an information, and operators help us to perform the needed calculations. Next one is the conditions and loops. In a restaurant, special rules and routines makes things lively. If a customer is a VIP, the waiter happily gives them a discount. That's like an if condition. Then, with a smile, the waiter keeps asking the user or a customer, would you like to have anything else again and again, just like a loop repeating until the customer is done. Next one is a functions and modules. Calling make underscore pizza function is like asking the pizza chef to prepare a pizza whenever you need it. That's a function doing a fixed job. Using math.square root of 16 is like getting help from an outside supplier for a special dish. That's a module providing extra ready-made features. Next one is error handling. In a restaurant, if a customer asks for a dish that is not available on the menu, the waiter doesn't panic. Instead, they politely say it's not available. This is just like an error handling in a programming, where instead of crashing, the program handles mistakes smoothly. In this example, when burger isn't found on the menu, the program shows a friendly message instead of an error. Next one is a file handling. Just like a restaurant writes down all the orders in a logbook at the end of the day, Python let us store information in our files. This way, the data is saved and can be checked later. In this example, the order details are written into a file called orders.txt, acting just like a restaurant's record book. Next one is a oops concept. In a restaurant, every customer has their own details like name, table number and bill. Instead of keeping all these information in a separate variables, we can create a class to group them together. Each customer is then an object of that class. In this example, we create a customer object named arrow at the table 5 and we can easily access his details using that object. So, just like running a restaurant needs rules, peoples, roles, and records, building a software in Python needs variables, conditions, loops, functions, and error handling, along with OOPS concept. So, finally, I can tell you this: start small but stay consistent. Begin with a simple coding challenges on a platform like HackerRank or a LeetCode to sharpen your basics. Rebuild the mini projects we did it in the previous sessions, but don't just copy paste. Add your own flavors to make them exciting. Stay connected with the coding communities on a Reddit or Stack Overflow to learn, share, and get inspired. And most importantly, dedicate at least 30 minutes every single day to coding because study practice is what turns you into a confident programmer. Python is just beginning of your coding journey. From here, you can step into different exciting paths depending on your interests. If you love building websites, explore web development with Django, Flask, or FastAPI. If analyzing numbers and patterns excites you, dive into data science using Pandas, NumPy, and Matplot. For those who enjoy making computers do repetitive tasks automatically, try automation and scripting with Selenium, PyAuto GUI, or APIs. And if you are fascinated by smart systems, explore AI and machine learning with TensorFlow or PyTorch. Pick the path that excites you most and start creating real projects. That's where the true learning happens. This slide highlights different paths you can explore with Python, and I will attach all these reference links for your practice and learning in the description. But remember one thing, don't stop learning. Do practice regularly, build projects, and keep pushing yourself. I would love to hear your feedback and questions in the comment section. It helps me to improve and bring even better content for you. Thank you for being part of this journey and get ready for the next big step in your coding career. Please like, share, and subscribe to Man Software Patashala and stay tuned for more such updates.